Whew, it has been a week. Let me tell you. Okay, so I've got my tea, it's chai, but I just wanted to chat. Lately has been a little tough. It's been a little lonelier, and money isn't flowing the way it used to, which means that I haven't really had access to the things that I used to. And it has taken a little bit of a toll on my mental health, depending on the day, week, whatever. Like earlier today, I went to the grocery store and there were these beautiful tulips. Like, it's tulip season and I love tulips. And I wanted to buy them so bad. But I did stop myself because, it doesn't feel very responsible to be spending money on things like flowers when you need to make sure that all your boxes are checked. So I didn't buy them, and it kind of hurt me a little bit because I'm like no stranger to sacrificing things for the bigger picture. Like, I know sometimes when you're trying to achieve something, other things have to go. I know that. Oh, mama, I gotta call you back. But this in particular felt like a shot to the heart because I feel like I've been in this particular space in my life for too long. And normally that would have made me really depressed. Just that moment, that thought. I would have doom spiraled and been in this whole... If you don't know what a doom spiral is, it's basically what I call like when one thought leads to another, and then all of a sudden you're in this whirlwind of like doom and gloom. Like, oh my gosh, it's never gonna end. Life is terrible. Like, and then everything that could possibly go wrong is now in the forefront of your mind. That's what I call doom spiraling. This time though, I didn't do that. And it actually triggered something different. It triggered me thinking about how I can't really like love myself the way I used to. And it felt like a loss, like I grieved it. And it just got me thinking about how nobody talks about how loss plays a role in the self-love journey. I've heard the spiel that the self-love journey is lonely because no one can give you the love that you never got, and you have to go inward to find it. I get it. And I've heard the spiel that people can only love you as much as you love yourself. And I get that. I believe that. And that can cause it to be lonely. So I've like understood that the self-love journey can be lonely. Loneliness is okay. But what I didn't expect was the sense of loss. But since your self-love journey is lifelong, I guess at some point it would make sense that you would experience loss. Because the self-love journey isn't just a temporary journey that's in between partners where you learn how to be single and love yourself again. And it's also not just a catchy mantra that you tote around and tell yourself in the mirror in the morning. As time goes on, I've been coming to the realization that self-love repackages itself as you age. Like when I was young and single and fresh out on my own, it really felt like finding that freedom that I never had under my parents' roof. It was that feeling of creating what independence looked like, making my own decisions, calling my own shots, choosing whether or not I wanted to casually date or spend time with my girlfriends and take last minute road trips. It was buying groceries just for me and figuring out what I could do with them. It was doing things just because I wanted to, things just for me. Like at that stage in my life, self-love felt like finding myself. And it was fun, just like exploring the world, shopping for things I didn't need, running the streets, saying yes to things just for the hell of it, for the plot. It felt like finding my joy, finding what I liked, what I didn't like, learning who I was outside of my parents' household. I got to explore the deeper parts of myself and like get cozy with them, I spoiled myself with things that I probably didn't need. Sometimes I was just dopamine chasing. I would be cooking elaborate meals and trying out recipes one night and then eating Oreos for dinner like the next. That's what self-love looked like to me. Just doing whatever moved me. Like, it was beautiful and it was chaotic, and it probably led me to loving people longer than I should have and trying things that I probably wouldn't have before. It was like an open heart space kind of feeling. You know what I'm talking about, like that beautiful but chaotic kind of feeling. It's like that feeling where you're on top of the world because life's toughest lessons haven't hit you yet. That feeling. where you're kind of naive but still hopeful. You're able to experience things where like the scars from heartbreak and disappointment haven't set in yet. You experience things in like the purest form. But for me, it was about creating space for myself and exploring all the parts of myself that I didn't get to growing up. To me, at that time, that's what self-love was. And then came the heartbreak, the big ones, those heartbreaks that shake you to the core of your being. I remember those heartbreaks. I felt blindsided because my heart was just so open that I just didn't see these types of things coming. They always hit me from left field. You know what I mean. Those heartbreaks where you feel like it's no longer safe to be yourself, where everything in life is conspiring to make you realize that you still have to love yourself even though life feels like it's out of control. Oh, and it could be anything. Like, it could be those heartbreaks that make you feel hollow inside after they happen, loss of relatives, friendship breakups, disappointments from school, loss of a dream job or the potential of a dream job. You know, I've had probably all those things have happened to me. But what I mean is, like, they're those heartbreaks and disappointments that are always the turning point. Those moments where you're just left to pick up the pieces yourself. Like, you're in the moment and you don't even recognize the person you were before. There was like a pre-era and a post-era. There was like a Kayla pre-heartbreak and a Kayla post-heartbreak, and they're different. At that turning point, self-love looks different. So if that first version of self-love was learning about myself, then this version of self-love basically was learning to like myself again, if that makes sense. Self-love after heartbreak looks like learning to trust yourself again, working through those betrayal wounds of feeling like you made a bad decision, like you chose the wrong person, you chose the wrong career, you chose wrong. And that self-betrayal runs deep. And you have to learn how to like yourself after that. And you have to be brave enough to leave some things behind, because the post-heartbreak you is different. It's like that slow aching process when you don't have a reason to get out of bed, but you know you have to do it anyway. Like when you get up in the morning and go look in the mirror to get ready, but you can't look yourself in the eyes because you're too sad. Or like after a breakup when you have to hide social media from yourself because your self-destructive habit is social media stalking and looking through old photos. Or where you have to force yourself to eat just because you know it's good for you, but you don't really feel like eating at all. And at that point, I feel like self-love was like slow and nurturing. Like I really had to learn patience and care for myself, and not in the way of like, oh, let me take myself to get my nails done and do this. Like it was like allowing myself the space to be hurt, to cry, to hold space for myself. It felt like giving myself the time to grieve that heartbreak, that disappointment, even when everyone around me was telling me I should have gotten over it by now. I had to learn how to love myself the best way I knew how, while still feeling broken. Because I feel like that's something that's like impossible to teach. Nobody teaches you how to pick up the pieces of yourself that someone else broke, that you broke by holding on too long, too tightly. I know I've fallen into escapism to numb the pain, like sleeping too much, drinking, partying, overworking. Overworking was my favorite. Like I am a classic overworker. That is how I numbed my pain. And then at some point, I got to the point where I had created all these habits to numb the pain, but the like hollowness was still there. I was functioning, but my spark was gone. How was I supposed to love myself when I didn't even recognize myself? And that was the hardest part, is to how do you love yourself through the tough times instead of just getting over it? Especially in these like tough times where you don't have access to the things that you used to, or maybe those things that you used to do to show yourself love, they don't hit the same. What do you do then? How do you love yourself when self-love looks different? And then there's the other aspect of self-love that cracked me open again. Cracked me open is such a weird way to put it, but that's how it felt. Because after those heartbreaks, I feel like I shut down a part of myself, like I put a protective shell over it. And then it felt like someone came around and tried to crack that shell open. Self-love is a continuous learning process. But another evolution of self-love is the self-love of learning to love yourself while someone else is also trying to love you. When you've taken up all the space on the couch with your self-care arsenal, your favorite TV show, your snacks, your comfy socks, your massager, everything. You just have everything laid out. And now someone's trying to sit on the couch with you. And you're not opposed, but you've filled up this couch with all of your favorite things that you're like, I don't know if there's room. I spent that much time learning how to love myself that another human being is going to need some hints. I just assumed that they would just know. Like, it kind of killed the expectation that romance movies set for me, but whatever. Like, I know there's that quote that says, you don't get to teach someone how to love you. You get to see how they love and choose if you want to participate. And I think there's some merit to that. But I also think there's self-love in the idea of telling someone how you know you like to be loved. Like, don't go and find a person that loves completely different to how you want to be loved, obviously. You can see how they love and be like, yeah, that's part of what I like. But also there's the merit of telling them how you like to be loved instead of waiting for them to do it and being disappointed when they don't. For me, like, I'm the expert on me. I know how to love me best because I spent all that time learning. I spent all that time building my tower back up after it was knocked down multiple times. I spent the time with me in the trenches. It's my job. It's an act of self-love for me to tell you how to love me. People aren't going to just know. And that was disappointing to hear. It's felt good figuring out that instead of just festering the resentment of people not knowing how to love me properly. But yeah, I think it's an act of self-love to let that person know how you like to be loved, but it's an even bigger act of self-love to actually let them do it. There's self-love in allowing yourself to be vulnerable and soft, which has taken me so long to learn. Like, I swear it's so hard for me. Like, it didn't feel safe to be vulnerable and let someone in. So I avoided it like the plague. But now that I've been doing it, practicing it, I feel like it's an act of self-love to be seen in that way and be safe in it. It's an act of self-love in telling about the deepest parts of yourself and letting people see you for more than what you appear to be. So I'm learning that self-love is also about how much you allow love in, like how much I can make room on this couch and let people squeeze in. And I feel like it is not only part of my growth, like in a romantic sense, but also when it comes to me making content, how much can I let people see the deeper parts of me and still feel safe and supported. So I'm making room on the couch. I'm opening up the doors. Come sit with me. There's room. I'll even get a bigger couch if I have to. I know that self-love evolves even more as time goes on. I'm sure there's another aspect of self-love that comes into play, like when you have children. So I'd love to hear about how you're cultivating your self-love as time goes on in the comments. Thanks for watching. As always, I'm sending love and healing your way. And if you like this style of video, you can watch the last one I did about how quitting nicotine taught me about my subconscious mind. I'll link it here. Bye.